Dear brothers and sisters, when we look at the definition of self-confidence, it is defined as feeling of trust in one's ability, qualities, and judgment. Meaning that you have the ability to make a call or to make a decision, and you're confident that that decision is the best decision that can be made. Self-confidence is knowing that what you do will be the right thing to do. That when people come to you seeking help, that they know you are the one that can provide help for them. You speak with confidence, you talk, you can deliver on what you promise, and you deliver in what you tell people that you're going to deliver on. Confidence is knowing that you can do it. And this is in terms of what we think of as human beings. This is us as human beings. Now let's take this to the next level and put this confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing that we generally deal with when it comes to confidence, or that we should be dealing with when it comes to confidence, is something that we all deal with all the time, which is sustenance. The same reason that we wake up in the morning to go and do our jobs. The reason why we go to schools, the reason why we educate ourselves, so at the end of the day, we have a good structure for them to get that sustenance. So that our first belief in the confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is know that at the end of the day, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that provides that sustenance. As He said in many, many verses, as in when He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that provides that sustenance. وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا, and that's in Surah Hud verses 6. And then again in Surah Al-Dhariyat He says, وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ, and it has been accrued that your sustenance has been guaranteed. All what we have to do is just work for it. So this gives us the ability to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to really truly believe that your sustenance comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is where that confidence comes into place. Confidence is knowing that what I have to do is trying to find ways to get sustenance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised me that my sustenance is going to come. And the Prophet ﷺ said, if we truly depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we truly believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it comes to sustenance, that He will give us our sustenance just like He gives the birds when they leave their nests in the morning hungry, and they came back at night full. When the bird leaves, the bird doesn't know which worm they're going to catch, or which fish they're going to eat, or whatever type of food they're going to eat. They just know that they need to work for it. And that's the main example that we usually think about when it comes to confidence and when it comes to believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we really have to take confidence to the next level. As a kid, we trusted that our parents did everything for us because they loved us. We trusted our parents. You went to your parents and asked them for advice. You seek their knowledge, you seek their guidance because you believe and you know of what they're going to give you. You trust in them. And this is what we really need to trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Prophet ﷺ told us, احفظ الله يحفظك. We have to safeguard the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will in return do the same thing. And what does this really mean? Let's look at the examples of how people throughout history put their faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala return that trust. When we look at Hajar alayhi salam, and in the example when she was left in the middle of nowhere, in a desert, a place where you couldn't see anybody as the eye can see. There was no water, no people, nothing. And then she was left there. And at that time, she couldn't comprehend why her husband left her at that place. And then after asking him multiple times, she realized, well, maybe this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for me. So she asked him that one simple question. She said, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order you to do this? And all what she needed to hear was, yes, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then once she heard that, then she knew at that time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never let her fail. Will never let her or her kid go thirsty or die of hunger. And that's how the whole story of Zamzam came about. And we know how many people come to Mecca these days because of that one person believed and had trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us. He'll put you through those trials, and then we have to wait and see. What do we do? How do we act? Do we depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He is going to find the solution? Because He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَمَا يَنْتَقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. He said, احفظ الله يحفظك. Be mindful of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked you to do, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you. We don't know how. We don't know when. We don't know how He's going to make it happen, but He does make it happen. And I'm sure we all can think of examples from our lives where we went through hardships and somehow the problem was resolved. Somehow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came up with a solution for us. The story of Maryam alayhi salam. She left, and then suddenly she goes through this trial of being tested that she become pregnant. So imagine what's going through her mind of having to go back to her people, having to go back to her family and said, you know, well, I'm not really married, I wasn't married, and I have a baby. And that's the stuff that she had to go through. So she goes through she goes back to her family. She endures the hardships of everything that goes with carrying a baby, delivering the baby, and then she goes back and having to face her family. And the first thing that she faces is that people asked her family asked her. He said, how did you do this? You know, what is this that you came with? But then she had that confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make them believe in one way or the other. And He gave her that miracle of having Isa alayhi salam speak as a baby, as an infant. She would have never imagined that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a baby speak. Think about having an infant in your hand and imagining that this baby will speak a language that adults will understand. She had that confidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find that solution for her. So where is that solution that we seek when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting us through trials? How do we trust ourselves? How do we trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And having confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not mean that we sit back and say, well, I have a problem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fix it for me. No. We have to spiritually reach that level in having that confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that I am what my servants think of me. If you think good of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be good with you. How do we reach that level of thinking good of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And trust me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us in every single aspect in life. He's tested each one of us when it came to sustenance. We may not have noticed it, but He tested us. He tested us when it came to our families, to our parents, to our siblings, to our children, to our friends, to the friends that we consider sometimes family, but turn otherwise. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us with. To see how we react, how much confidence we have in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do we build this confidence with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Let's go back to having this self-confidence in ourselves. How do you become self-confident? How do you become confident in what you do? We have to drill down into those little points of becoming confident to understand, how do I really become confident in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Being confident that you're going to wake up in the morning and know that you're going to go and work and give it your best. That you're going to raise your kids to your best of abilities. You're going to deal with your parents to the best of your abilities. How do you build that level of confidence? It takes practice. In public speaking, almost every person needs practice. Some start younger than others. But at the end of the day, any person that wants to give that self-confidence or want to gain that self-confidence, they have to start practicing at one point in their life. You start giving up small talks in front of your friends, and then it grows, and before you know it, you're good in public speaking. Nothing happens, nothing changes to the complete opposite overnight. Confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not come overnight. It will not come when you're going through trials. It will not come when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing you. This is when we're taking the test. You don't wait until the day of the exam to start studying. No. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts us through those trials is the day when we pass or fail. Think about the different trials that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you through. And think, how many times did you have that confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how many times did you try to rely on people? And again, there's a distinction between relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then also doing what you need to do, and just saying, you know what, I'm not gonna believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm not really gonna worry about, that confidence from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then seek the help from people. This is where that difference is. The difference between going through these trials and knowing that, okay, this is a problem that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided to test me with. So we have to accept the fact that I'm being tested. This is our first level of trying to understand or trying to have that confidence with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having that close relationship with Him to say, Ya Allah, I got lesson 1. I'm being tested. And then we have to try and analyze, what is this test? What is the purpose behind this test? What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trying to test me with? And go through these steps. Is this a financial test? Is this a test with my patience? A test with my anger? A test with my family? A test at my work? A test because something that I've been doing wrong? What is it that I'm doing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided to test me with? And once we realize those issues, then we re-establish the communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and try to understand, okay, so how can I solve this problem? Is this a spiritual problem? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trying to draw me closer to Him? Is this a warning sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to tell me that I have followed a straight line and I need to kind of come back to His path? Or what is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to tell me? Where do I stop? And as you're going through these trials, your world shouldn't end. You shouldn't stop doing what you're doing so you can face that problem. We have to surround ourselves with family. We have to surround ourselves with people that can help you pull through these hardships. And that's how you find out who your true friends are. When you're going through these hardships, some people will stay close to you and some people will run away. But know for sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always be with you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always support you. Parents may leave you, friends may leave you, your workers, your co-workers, people around you will leave you, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never leave you as long as we keep that relationship and we keep that connection with Him. Dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever keeps those boundaries with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will find him a way out. It's very clear, it's plain and simple. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. He will find him or her an exit in every single thing in life. Anything that you're going through, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find you an exit. You just have to keep that relationship going with Him. When the Prophet ﷺ tells us that whoever helps their fellow brother or their fellow sister, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help them in times of hardship. These are the different ways that we have to establish that relationship, trying to find that exit. You're setting up your exit strategy. You're making things easier for you in the future. When you're going through these hardships, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find you that way as easily. What is it that we've done so we can find that exit when we're going through these hardships? Imagine yourself walking in a very dark hallway, pitch black, you can't see anything in front of you. And every time you do a good deed for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every time you're trying to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a small light bulb will come on. Every time you do something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will start lighting this way for you. So the minute you're going through these hardships, you'll have the exit doors clearly labeled. You go through this hardship, this is your way out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could be testing your patience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could be testing you in many, many ways. We don't know. All what we have to do is prepare and let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us on our way out. There's no knowing in what hardship you're going to face. There's no way if we're trying to figure out your problems. You can have the healthiest person, you can be the healthiest person, you can be the wealthiest, you can have the biggest family. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you this test. And this test does not have to be physical, it could be spiritual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can send you people that will try to derail you from doing what you do best. From praying, from fasting, from doing good deeds, from helping the community, from being part of the community. All of those things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could be testing you with. So you can't predict the future, but what we can do is prepare for it. And if you fail in a test you again. Some exams, some people when you go take a test, the test itself has some kind of intelligence to it, to where if they give you a question with a 3 difficulty, and then if you answer the question right, then they increase the difficulty. And if you answer it right, then the difficulty will increase. But if you fail that question, if you don't answer the question, your next question will be a little bit easier. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes us through these trials. The prophets and the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to endure the hardest of tests and the hardest of trials. We're all tested according to our iman. We're all tested according to our belief. So having that confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps you pull through these tests and helps you pull through these trials. So what you do next will either help you increase this confidence with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will help you increase that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so you can find that exit easily. Or you can be stuck longer in that darkness. It's all up to you.